Every country is dependent on its economy, but else economy is also very dependent on the country's army. A powerful army helps the economy flourish and face difficulties. So in this video, we are going to go over the top 10 most powerful armies in the world in 2020. Number 10. Turkey. Turkey's armed forces are one of the largest in the Eastern Mediterranean. Although lacking an aircraft carrier, only 5 countries on Credit Suisse's list have more submarines than Turkey. In addition, the country can lay claim to an impressively large tank fleet as well as numerous aircraft and attack helicopters. Turkey is also a committed member of the F-35 program. Turkey has a military budget of $18.2 billion. Turkey has 3,778 tanks. And a total of 1.020 aircraft and 13 submarines as well. The Turkish armed forces are the second largest standing military force in NATO, after the U.S. Armed Forces, with an estimated strength in 2015 of 639,551 militaries, civilian and paramilitary personnel. Turkey has a total of 90 B-61 nuclear bombs are hosted at the Incirlik Air Base. 40 of these are allocated for use by the Turkish Air Force in case of a nuclear conflict, but their use requires the approval of NATO. Number 9. The United Kingdom. As sovereign and head of state, Queen Elizabeth II is the head of the armed forces and their commander-in-chief. Although the UK planned to reduce the size of its armed forces by 20% between 2010 and 2018, it can count on being able to project its power around the world. The Royal Navy is planning to put the HMS Queen Elizabeth, an aircraft carrier that has a flight deck measuring at 4.5 acres, into service in 2020, carrying 40 F-35B Joint Strike Fighters across the globe. The UK has a military budget of $60.5 billion. The UK has 3,778 tanks. And a total of 1.020 aircraft and 13 submarines as well. The UK has a fleet of 76 commissioned ships, together with the Royal Marines. The Ministry of Defence is the government department and highest level of military headquarters charged with formulating and executing defence policy for the armed forces. It employs 56,860 civilian staff as of October 1, 2015. Number 8. Italy. Italy has active frontline personnel of 320,000. The Italian military placed highly on Credit Suisse's report due to the country's possession of 2 active aircraft carriers. These carriers, in addition to the country's relatively large submarine and attack helicopter fleets, drastically boosted Italy's ranking. Italy has a military budget of $34 billion. Italy has 586 tanks. Italy also has a total of 760 aircraft and 6 submarines as well. Italy has joined in many UN, NATO, and EU operations as well as with assistance to Russia and the other CIS nations, Middle East peace process, peacekeeping, and combating the illegal drug trade, human trafficking, piracy, and terrorism. Italian forces have contributed to ISAF, the NATO forces in Afghanistan, and to the Provincial Reconstruction Team. Since the second post-war, the Italian armed force has become more and more engaged in international peace support operations, mainly under the auspices of the United Nations. The Italian armed forces are currently participating in 26 missions. Number 7. France. France has active frontline personnel of 202,761. The French military is relatively small but highly trained, professional, and capable of force projection. The country has the nearly new aircraft carrier the Charles de Gaulle, and France routinely engages in military deployments throughout Africa to help stabilize governments and fight against extremism. France's budget for the military is $62.3 billion. France has 423 tanks. France also has a total of 1,264 aircraft and 10 submarines as well. France military strength. 2020, France remains a top-level military power with the internal capability to develop and produce any solution it requires. For 2020, France is ranked 7 of 138 out of the countries considered for the annual GFP review. On top of that, France also has 300 nuclear weapons, and France also has a greater war-waging potential, which makes it stand at number 7 on our list. French land-based army is the largest component of the French armed forces. Number 6. South Korea. South Korea has active frontline personnel of 624,465. South Korea has been left with little choice but to have a large and capable military in the face of potential North Korean aggression. With those realities in mind, South Korea has a number of submarines, attack helicopters, and active personnel. The country also has numerous tanks and the 6th largest air force in the world. South Korean budget for the military is $62.3 billion. South Korea has 2,381 tanks. South Korea also has a total of 1,412 aircraft and 13 submarines as well. The ROK, Republic of Korea Armed Forces, is undergoing rapid modernization in preparation for assuming wartime operational control of the ROK's defenses. Several cutting-edge military systems are currently being inducted. Based on the Moon Jae-in administration's Defense Reform 2.0 and in line with the overall troop drawdown scheme, the number of generals and admirals will be reduced by 17% from the current 436 to 360 by 2022 to reduce the bloated top command apparatus. Number 5. Japan. Japan has active frontline personnel of 247,160 and 56,000 reserve personnel. In absolute terms, the Japanese military is relatively small. Nonetheless, the country is extremely well equipped. Japan's military budget is $49 billion. Japan has 1,004 tanks. Japan also has a total of 1,561 aircraft and 20 submarines as well. According to Credit Suisse, it has the fourth largest submarine fleet on the list. Japan also has 4 aircraft carriers, although these vessels are only equipped with helicopter fleets. Japan also has the fourth largest attack helicopter fleet behind China, Russia, and the US. Japan is ranked 5th due to its relatively small army than India. Other than that, it stands out at the top 4. Japan was deprived of any military capability after being defeated by the Allies in World War II and was forced to sign a surrender agreement presented by General Douglas MacArthur in 1945, but then they started the struggle and have made huge development in the tech world but also armed forces. Number 4. India. India has active frontline personnel of 1,444,000 and 2,100,000 reserve personnel. India is one of the largest military powers on the planet. It has the most active manpower of any country aside from China and the US, in addition to the most tanks and aircraft of any country besides the US, China, or Russia. India also has access to nuclear weapons. According to different sources, India has a total of 150 nuclear warheads. India has a military budget of $61 billion. India has a total of 6,464 tanks. India also has a total of 2,123 aircraft and 16 submarines as well. India has one of the longest military histories, dating back several millennia. The first reference to armies is found in the Vedas as well as the epics Ramayana and Mahabharata. Classical Indian texts on archery in particular and martial arts in general are known as Dhanurveda. The Indian Armed Forces have been engaged in a number of major military operations, including the Indo-Pakistani Wars of 1947, 1965, and 1971, the Portuguese-Indian War, the Sino-Indian War and many others. Number 3. China. China has active frontline personnel of 2,183,000 and 510,000 reserve personnel. The Chinese military has grown rapidly in terms of both size and capability in the past few decades. In terms of raw manpower, it's the largest military in the world. It also has the second largest tank fleet behind Russia and the second largest submarine fleet behind the US. China has a military budget of $237 billion. China has a total of 9,150 tanks. China also has a total of 3,210 aircraft and 74 submarines as well. China has also made rapid strides in its military modernization program, now developing a range of potentially game-changing military technologies including ballistic missiles and fifth-generation aircraft. Since 1949, China has used 9 different military strategies, which the PLA, People's Liberation Army, calls strategic guidelines. In 1955, China decided to proceed with a nuclear weapons program. And as of the latest reports, China has a total of 290 nuclear warheads. Number 2. Russia. The Russian armed forces are the unquestioned second strongest military power in the world. Russia has active frontline personnel of 1,013,628 and 2 million reserve personnel. Russia has the world's largest tank fleet, the second largest aircraft fleet behind the US, and the third largest submarine fleet behind the US and China. Russia has a military budget of $48 billion. Russia has a total of 15,398 tanks. Russia also has a total of 4,163 aircraft and 62 submarines as well. Russia has also demonstrated its ability to project force abroad with its deployment of soldiers to Syria. Between 1991 and 1997, newly independent Russia's defense spending fell by a factor of 8 in real prices. In 1998, when Russia experienced a severe financial crisis, its military expenditure in real terms reached its lowest point, barely 1/4 of the USSR's in 1991, and 2/5 of the level of 1992, the first year of Russia's independent existence. But the Russian military budget has improved a lot and the military equipment are developing very fast. Number 1. The United States. The U.S. Armed Forces are one of the largest military forces in terms of personnel. It draws its personnel from a large pool of paid volunteers. The United States has active frontline personnel of 1,400,000 and 860,000 reserve personnel. Despite sequestration and other spending cuts, the United States spends more money, $750 billion, on defense than any other country in the world. America's biggest conventional military advantage is its fleet of 10 aircraft carriers. In comparison, India, which is constructing its third carrier, has the second most carriers in the world. The United States has a total of 8,848 tanks. The U.S. also has a total of 13,264 aircrafts and 66 submarines as well. The U.S. Armed Forces have significant capabilities in both defense and power projection due to its large budget, resulting in advanced and powerful technologies. The U.S. also has by far the most aircraft of any country, cutting-edge technology like the Navy's new railgun, a large and well-trained human force, and that's not even counting the world's largest nuclear arsenal. With that being said, here we come to the end of our video. I hope you liked this video. If so, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss any video. See you in the next video. Till then, take care. Thanks for watching.